Howdy, I'm Grey Pilgrim. I'm a bit tired. My blessed neighbor came over, get rid of my type here, and took his tractor and his furrowing plow to my garden. And I was dancing behind him in the furrows, picking up extra potatoes that I hadn't harvested before. I didn't even know they were there. I'd already pulled a bushel and a half out. I just got another almost bushel, and I didn't get them all. I need to go out with a fork and see what I can turn up. But I owe him a case of beer now. I mean, I really do. I mean, I have a wonderful neighbor. Anyway, I wanted to talk about something. A little history lesson. Back in the 19th century, mid-19th century, France, which by then was a empire under the nephew of Napoleon Bonaparte, Louis-Philippe Napoleon, or Napoleon III, and his Princess Eugenie, who was his wife, and they were all the talk of Paris. But the problem is that France got kind of its nose out of whack with the Germans and decided they were going to attack Germany. And at the time, Germany was under the influence of a man named Otto von Bismarck, and he thought, well, the only way I'm going to reunite all of these disparate German states is under a strong monarch and with a war. So he was engineering a war with France anyway, and the strong king was the King of Prussia, who later became the Emperor of Germany. And that was Frederick Wilhelm, I think. Anyway, though when he came to power, he dismissed Bismarck. But anyway, that's the future. During this period, the Germans engineer and the French start the Franco-Prussian War. And they're kicking ass on the Germans because, well, at the time the Germans were armed with the 1871 Mauser, which was an 11 millimeter rifle. It was a single shot. Well, the French had at that time a thing called the chassepot, which was a needle gun, and the Germans countered with the Dreisen needle rifle, which was also a needle gun. And they used a consumable black powder cartridge, a much more efficient one than any of the Heckler & Koch G11 or any of the others that they've come up with recently. But that's another story. Anyway, Germans won and kicked the French's butt. And they go, this 1871, it's the bee's knees. We'll keep it. Well, I was recently watching an older See an Arsenal about this one, the Italian Vetterli rifle, which was, I think, 1886 or so. And it became later the Vetterli, and even later than that, it became the Vetterli Mannlicher. And it was chambered also originally in a large 11 millimeter black powder cartridge. Well, along comes the French, and they came up in 1886 with a Lebel and their new cartridge to shoot it, using their new Playeur B, or Blanc, which was smokeless. It's the very first smokeless powder. And the cartridge was the 8 millimeter Lebel. Well, the Germans saw that, and they had some good espionage, and they stole a few cartridges, took them apart, reverse engineered powder B, and came up with their own version of it. And they made their own round, which was the Commission cartridge of 8 millimeter Commission, which was actually 319 diameter and 57 millimeters long. That's what, 0.3, I forget what it is, but it's in metric, but in English it's 0.318. And they came up with a rifle to shoot it, and that's this rifle. Now, excuse me, this one has been sporterized poorly, but this is the Commission rifle. of 1888. And it shoots a smokeless cartridge in .318. The original did. Well, later on, they re-engineered the Commission cartridge and made the 8x57 Mauser out of it, what we call the 8x57 Mauser, which is .323 and 57 millimeters. This is the original one. This was designed by committee, and it shows all the hallmarks of being such a totally obsolete thing. Here, let me bring it over here and show you something. See this bolt? Well, to take it off, you have a little thing you push, just like on a K98 Mauser or G98 Mauser. You push that, lift your bolt, and slide it back, push this, and the bolt comes out. Notice this bolt. It has two locking lugs right up here on the front of it. Well, in contrast, I'm going to show you a K98K. This is a hopelessly destroyed K98K. I put this together out of parts. I had this barrel and receiver on at the time a sporterized stock. Well, my cousin happened to have this stock which fit it. So even though this stock is marked 7.62 on the base here, it isn't. This is an 8 Mauser. But pull the bolt back and drop it on the floor. Pull the lever and drop it out. But the point is, here's the Mauser bolt, and here's the Commission bolt. Mauser has a lug here, and a safety lug back here. The Commission rifle just has a lug here and a lug here. Commission rifle also seems to have a honking huge barrel, but it's not a barrel. This is a barrel jacket, and the whole concept behind it is that it keeps the barrel from actually contacting the stock and therefore should be more stable. Well, it isn't. And on top of that, by having this jacket around the barrel, many times the barrel will rust because in moist climates, water will seep down into here. Well, the Commission rifle was made in both rifle length and carbine length. I think they had an 1888 and 1891. I forget, there's several different models of it. And they used this up through World War II because they had a bunch of them still in stock for one reason or another. The German government was just totally unimpressed with this thing. And they had gone over to Paul Mauser, who had absolutely nothing to do with it. This was made mainly by Ludwig Loh. And they said, "Hey, Mauser, what do you got?" And he says, "Well, I've got this 1896, and I'm working on this 1898. And they said, "Well, demonstrate." So he showed off his G98, and they loved it. And he ended up selling a boatload of these to the First Reich, as it were, and or is it the Second Reich? I don't know, the Kaiser's government. And yeah, the G98 was what they fought World War I with. In World War II, they'd shortened it down to a carbine length, and it was a K98K, or carbiner. And this is what you'd see every Nazi troop carry. We, of course, had the Garand, and, yay. But there were a lot of these still in the Home Guard, and when the Russians got there, they found a bunch of Volkssturm armed with these things, because that's what they had on hand. As I said, this was originally chambered in .318, but soon after, they went to the .323. And if you look on the bolt, here on it, where is it? Right here. There's an S. That S means Spitzer. That means it has been updated to .323. The .318 was a round nose. The .323 was a pointy nose. Had I think 40% more oomph than the .318 did, and it could actually perform quite well out of one of these. It's strong enough for it. It's not as strong as a Mauser because it only has those puny two little locking lugs. Now that made me think of the Vetterli made me think of it because in the Vetterli, it was like one of the very first that actually had some strong locking lugs on it, which none of the others of this era did, the black powder ones, because they, well, they usually the only thing that they had was that the bolt handle would lock down on the stock, and that was their locking lug, as it were. Beaumont's that way. It also has an 11 millimeter black powder cartridge. And with black powder, you don't have that high pressure, you don't have to worry about it. But with something like this, you have to worry about it. And this one later became the, what is it, 1870, 88, 1915, I think. Because what they did for the Home Guard, see, they all had this, Vetterli with a Vetterli magazine on it. The Beaumont and this one both have that Vetterli magazine, a very similar magazine. Vetterli was I think, Italian officer. The Vetterli was actually a Swiss rifle, and the Swiss were armed with one that had a underbarrel tube magazine on it. But the Italians didn't want a tube magazine, so they opted for this 4-shot in reserve Vetterli magazine. They also, later on, they updated this for the modern world, put a Mannlicher style magazine on it, and stripper clip guides, and then loaded with 6.5 Carcano cartridges as a substitute standard for the Home Guard. And they were in the hands of some of the rebels during the various riots against the fascists. This gun is rightly called one of the most steampunk rifles out there, because this looks so 19th century. The lines of it is just, it's beautiful. I've got one on the wall up there. So, and I was thinking about this as I was watching that scene in Arsenal, and that naturally made me think of the evolution of the commission rifle to the K98K. I don't know why, but it did. Anyway, that's my history lesson for the day. Hope you learned something. And I gotta go clean off a bunch of potatoes. Happy trails.